Greetings on the Feast of Christ the King. I'm Father Paul Demuth, a senior pastor, and I'm happy to reflect on this great feast of Christ the King, the end of the church year. The readings for this Sunday are a little convoluted, I guess you'd say, because they don't speak just of the glory of Christ. In fact, the gospel is telling us about the conversation between Pilate and Jesus as he's being condemned to death. Are you a king? And it's obvious that Jesus is, but a king that's going to be crucified, a humiliating way of death. But the church puts forth this kind of a contradictory but deep mystery so that we can understand that in every aspect of life, the victorious ones and the difficult ones, Christ is present and brings redemption to our world. I got to share with you a story. Recently, I returned from a vacation in Spain, and our guide, Ron, kept saying, "Remember, folks, this is a vacation, not a pilgrimage." I suppose because two priests were involved, he was sure we'd mess it up with faith or something like that. But everywhere we went in Spain, a Catholic country, the highlights were the cathedrals and the basilicas and the shrines. Absolute beauty. Whether they were small or huge, like Gaudi's Basilica in Barcelona. You saw the glory of God if you just paused for a moment. Gaudi, an architect who initiated the building of this marvelous cathedral or basilica, recognized that there's no squares or straight lines in nature, but everything is moving. So he makes the pillars in the church look like tree trunks. The stained glass windows dance with brightness. It's called Sagrada Familia, the Holy Family. And as the spires reach to the heavens, you can't help but seeing Christ in everything. But you know, that's not always very easy. There's so many people that travel through Spain, and they're going to the cathedrals, they're going to the museums. And I wonder, are they experiencing the divine in all of this? Or is it just an ordinary but moving experience of art and architecture? Or maybe, is it both, and is it intertwined? Because you know, as Christ gave himself totally to us and suffered the horrors of the crucifixion, the glory of God shone through. And it's our privilege in our day to be able to see in nature, in cathedrals, in all of the awesome things in our world, as well as in the horrors and the pain and the uncertainty that people face throughout the world, that Christ is there. The beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega, all things begin and end in Jesus Christ. One day when we were walking through a park in Madrid, 3 or 4 of us stopped and started visiting with some high school guys. They were struggling with English. We were struggling with the Spanish. But at the end of the conversation, a young man who hadn't said a thing looked at us and said, "God bless America." It was an amazing thing. He could have said, God bless Madrid. God bless Kiev. God bless Washington, D.C. or Gaza. But through that young man, it was obvious that there is a connection in everything and everybody if we just pause enough to see the glory of God shining through. As I came back to the United States, I did thank God for our country with all of its wrinkles, with all of its glory and all of its pain and downright sinfulness. But it gave me a chance to step back and to say, Lord, you are in everything, in everyone. Don't let the darkness and the sin keep us from experiencing you. So, folks, as we make the transition at the end of this church year, the shortness of days help us to know that we have to reflect on everything and everyone. May we do that. And there, in seeing Christ crucified, Christ risen from the dead, Christ coming at the end of time, let us see Christ, the Savior King, loving us and caring for us. Enjoy this great feast, Lord, and then we begin once again to move to Advent and renew the coming of the Lord. Christ, Savior, Christ, Redeemer, Christ, the beginning and the end, Christ in all things. God bless you, folks. Rejoice.